It's not a rumor. Now it looks like it is a fact that the FCC is going to investigate Apple for how it handled the whole beeper shutdown, right? So we got news today that the FCC commissioner calls for an investigation officially into Apple's shutdown of Beeper Mini, to look and see if there's any wrongdoing, if there's any illegal practices involved. Now, Google is being sued by the Justice Department, by the United States government, basically for monopoly business, right? And looking into their business practices, how they conduct business. Apple could be next. And when you start having the government start probing your business practices, it's not a good feeling, not for Apple at least. Now, is Beeper behind this? Is there some ill feelings? Is there Apple's one of the more pettiest companies around. Very petty, in my opinion, right? I mean, but who am I to say what they're doing? Who am I to say what their business practices are or are not? But in my eyes, they are. But in your eyes, they may not, and that's fine, right? I don't harbor any ill feelings towards them. They're a business, and they're just doing what they believe is in their best interest. However, they might be next on the Justice Department, because when you start looking at this thing, these are the things that the government will point to and say, well, this is they're basically shutting down their competitor, right? For now, their software, if you're unaware, Beeper was a third-party app not associated to Apple. Beeper was an application that used Apple's services to make an Android phone. It deals with iMessage, right? So Beeper would allow you to download it or use it if you have an Android phone. You could message an iOS device. You could message an iPhone, and it would magically make the iMessage app to the iPhone user look like an iPhone was messaging them when it was in fact an Android. So an Android user could message Apple user, and the clear calls would come through, the clear photos, clear videos, and the blue bubbles would also show up, no green bubbles. So Beeper was not the first. Sunbird was also an app, but Sunbird also got shut down by Apple. Beeper is just the bigger name. So the U.S. government finally said they're going to look into this, right? Let's see. What is the FCC? FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr has now joined the fray. FCC Commissioner, the head of the FCC, is going to look into this. That's not good for Apple. And maybe they'll be cleared of all wrongdoings. We don't know, but we're about to find out. Calling for an FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr now joined the fray, calling for an investigation into Apple's actions regarding Beeper Mini. During the State of the Net conference, Carr expressed concerns over the potential violations of FCC rules, particularly those related to accessibility for people with disabilities. Part 14 of FCC rules outlines requirements for advanced communication services, including provisions for accessibility. What? Carr's focus on Part 14 suggests concerns about accessibility and usability of services. Although the exact nature of Apple's alleged violations remain unclear, Carr's focus on Part 14 suggests concerns about accessibility features and usability. One aspect highlighted by Carr is the color scheme used by Apple for distinguishing between iMessage blue bubbles and SMS messages green bubbles. Carr suggests that the low contrast, very sneaky. I see where they're pulling an Apple on Apple. That's exactly what they're doing. Carr argues that the low contrast of the green bubble messages may pose difficulties for users with low vision or visual impairments, potentially impeding accessibility. Furthermore, Carr's remarks indicate broader concerns about Apple's actions in banning users of Beeper Mini. The FCC rules explicitly prohibit network features or capabilities that impede accessibility or usability, raising questions about Apple's decisions to Beeper Mini and ban users. Carr's call for investigation underscores the need to ensure compliance with regulations that protect access to communication services for all individuals. Okay, I got a cat over here. 1 second. I can't wait to get into this. Give me a second. Where the hell's my mouse? Here we go. Hang on. This is a good one. Hang on. Sorry. Okay, so this is they're finding, this is pretty interesting. So I didn't know this. So we're both finding this out on the fly. So shame on me. I should have read this before I put it in our episode, but this makes it even better in my opinion because I get to react IRL in real time. So they're investigating, they're finding, the FCC, very clever of what they're doing. What they're doing is they're finding an angle to investigate because they want to investigate to find out how this happened, how they shut down Beeper, how they ban users. So you can't just say, well, we're going to investigate you shutting down Beeper or banning users. I mean, remember, this is going to court. Well, they're going to investigate, and if they find wrongdoing, they'll present the evidence. It's just like a regular court proceeding. So, as a prosecutor, well, they're not going to court, but you have to find a legitimate angle to investigate, and they found Part 14 of FCC rules that outlined requirements for advanced communication services, including provisions for accessibility. So the FCC's angle is saying, well, hold up. We have this rule here for disability, for people with disabilities, and your green bubble, blue bubble thing might be impeding on our laws and regulations on the disabilities. Now, this is not a part of the Disability Act, but there is a Part 14 as it outlines in FCC rules. I might go pull this after the episode and link it in the description box below. Very interesting. I cannot wait. Look, I'm not gonna have updates every day or every week, but when new updates pop up, I'll definitely let y'all know because you never know. The EU is making huge changes, forcing Apple to make huge changes due to their government's court proceedings, because they're suing Apple. That's what forced Apple to switch to the USB Type-C. And now the U.S. government might be able to pull some strings. Now, look, I'm not really big government. I really don't want them in our business or in the tech world. I think ultimately it's, let's say, a bad thing. Look, there's good things and bad things. They have done many positive things to protect well, I say our privacy, but that's not really true. But as far as service, right? Service with the 5G, with the 4G stuff, dating back a few years ago, they can help these networks, these cell phone companies, these cell phone services expand networks. So they do some good. But depending on how you look at this, because you can look at it either way, you could say, well, they need to stay out of Apple's business. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. If they didn't break the law, then so what? I get that point. Or you can look at it from the other side and say, well, mainly for people that don't like Apple, saying, well, yeah, they need to look into this and they need to force Apple to accept. Well, that's the thing. Apple already admitted they're going to accept RCS. This cat won't shut up. They're going to accept RCS at the end of this year with iOS 17. With the release of iOS 18 on the iPhone 16. They're going to accept RCS. However, the bubbles aren't going to change. Android to iPhone is still going to be green, and iPhone to iPhone is still going to be blue. So you're still going to have the discrepancy there. But very interesting the angle that FCC is attacking this with. So I'll link this in the description if you want some more info. Stay tuned to the channel. I'll definitely keep y'all updated on this one because I didn't know they were gonna go this angle. It makes it very interesting. I got this cat that won't shut up. Give me a second. Jesus Christ, man.